welcome to the complete episode of the BMW 1M Restoration and Maintenance. In our last video about this 1M, we cleared out the exhaust restrictions and upgraded the shifter. Today, in this episode, we're going to give it a top-to-bottom overhaul and build. I absolutely love the color of this car. Aside from Gulf Blue, this is probably my favorite BMW individual color. What do you guys think? The paint is super glossy because it was just repainted. Except for the roof and the trunk, we repainted the entire car. Enough talk, let's get straight to business. This 1M features an N54 engine paired with the big 6-speed, the heavy-duty 6-speed manual transmission. BMW manual gearboxes are divided into small 6 speeds and big 6 speeds. Only these 3.0-liter inline 6s get the big 6-speed. The mileage is at 61,000 kilometers, and the car's condition is excellent. It was shipped to us by one of our fans from Shanxi. This is the upgraded version of the N54 engine, so its engine cover looks different from a regular N54. Let's dive into the details. What issues does this car currently have? First, the power steering pump is seeping oil. Power steering pumps with active steering are highly prone to leaking. You can see it's leaking power steering fluid here, which the owner couldn't stand, so he chose to replace it. The owner also opted to replace the complete drive belt tensioner assembly. This car had some service done at a 4S dealership before for a leaking clutch, and they also replaced 2 mount pads. Since everything repaired at the dealership used genuine OEM parts, it's very reliable, so we don't need to touch the front axle area this time. Moving back, here is the transmission. The drive shaft flex disc, or Gaibo, is not the revised type. Our flex discs are divided into pure rubber ones and this type with aluminum alloy reinforcement. The aluminum alloy ones are an early design and prone to issues, but since this car has low mileage, it looks perfectly fine for now, so we'll leave it alone. Let's look at the rear axle. We actually included the shifter upgrade and exhaust modification in this video. If you're interested, you can watch those sections separately because mixing them into this full episode might feel a bit disjointed. Since the car only has 61,000 kilometers, the rear axle is very dry. The differential isn't seeping, and the shock absorbers aren't leaking either. Everything looks great. However, I noticed a tick-tick-tick sound when the car is idling. You know what? We diagnosed this sound as valve lifter tick because it only happens on a cold start. Once the car warms up, it basically goes away. Any fans out there who drive an N52 engine will know that N52 engines are also prone to this issue. These are all the parts needed for the 1M overhaul and maintenance. The owner mentioned that the wheels were a bit warped, so he chose to replace them with a set of replica wheels, saying he'll keep the old ones for drifting and use this new set for daily driving. The wheels currently mounted on the car are the genuine OEM ones. You can see there's a slight difference between them. The curvature of the genuine ones looks much more pleasing. When you put them side by side, don't you feel the difference immediately? The main thing is the Y-spoke section. The genuine spokes have a much better concave curvature, while the replica ones aren't as good. Putting them together, you can tell instantly which is real and which is fake, right? Let's sort out the parts, see what needs to be replaced, and then we'll get down to the overhaul. Starting from the left, this car is getting an upgraded larger intercooler and reinforced intake piping. On our 1M, the factory charge pipe easily bursts, just like on regular N54s. That's the charge pipe right before the throttle body. To install the aftermarket intercooler, we need to take off the front bumper and modify the radiator core support slightly before it can fit. Over here, we have our ignition coils, thermostat, fuel injectors, high-pressure fuel pump, and water pump, transmission fluid, differential fluid, OEM shock absorbers, a complete belt tensioner kit, control arms, sway bar links, valve cover, engine oil, and air filter. It's a massive array of parts. Let's quickly run through them. We'll discuss the more critical items first. First up are the N54 engine's injectors, electric water pump, and high-pressure fuel pump. Currently, the market price for these injectors is around 3,500 RMB each, and we need to change all 6. This is extremely important. It's essentially the heart and soul of the N54. The high-pressure pump and water pump have no issues at the moment, but the owner chose to replace them preventatively. We are using a genuine OEM high-pressure pump, and for the water pump, we went with VDO, which is the OEM supplier. For the drive belt tensioner kit, we are using genuine parts. As for the shock absorbers, we could only source a front left shock with a recent production date in China. The front right one is new old stock. Because you can only use genuine OEM shocks for the N1M, there are no aftermarket options available. You can see their cosmetic finishes look slightly different. Since there's a 4-year gap between their manufacturing dates, some variations in materials are normal. The control arms were brought back from the US by the owner, who said they are an upgraded heavy-duty version. For the engine oil, we are using Motul 8100. The valve cover and filters are all genuine OEM. This is our most reliable and safest approach. On N52 and N54 engines, lifter tick during a cold start usually has 2 causes. First, the lifter itself is failing and bleeding down pressure. Second, the oil passages in the cylinder head are clogged, preventing the lifter from building up pressure. Replacing the cylinder head is out of the question, so we'll try replacing a set of hydraulic lifters first. If it fixes it, great. If not, we can just leave it alone, because it doesn't affect drivability. It just makes noise, and it basically goes away once warmed up. Since we are doing the valve stem seals on this car, we can replace the lifters along the way. These are the hydraulic valve lifters. We take out the old lifters and then install the new ones. Before installing the new lifters, they need to be soaked in oil to saturate them completely. Then we swap the rocker arms back in. We must install the rocker arms back into their original positions. Do not mix them up. That's one done. There are 24. Here are the materials needed to change the valve stem seals. The seals were also brought back from the US by the owner, who said they are an upgraded heavy-duty ones. But why are the intake and exhaust seals the same size, and there's no part number stamped on them? The owner claimed the intake and exhaust sizes are different, but in reality, they are exactly the same size. We can't take risks with this. In the end, we decided to swap them out for a set of genuine OEM valve stem seals instead. Can you guys tell the difference? Let's line them up together and look at the genuine ones. These are the OEM seals. You can clearly see the exhaust side is slightly larger and the intake side is smaller. This is intake, this is exhaust. Let's pull back for a wider look. This set right here is the car's original fuel injectors. We can see that their part numbers all end in index -09. Index -09 injectors are not very durable at all. The new replacements we're putting in are the revised updated injectors, and the ones ending in index -12 are extremely durable. Now, let's pop the valve cover off. Look at this pristine silver valve train inside. A silver valve train is even better than a golden varnished one. This clean condition tells us the engine has never been abused or neglected. The golden color you often see happens over time when the engine runs hot for too long, causing oil varnish. Some of our fans might have noticed by now, why does the internal structure of an N54 look so different from an N55 or N52? That's because the N54 doesn't have an eccentric shaft. Therefore, it completely avoids the infamous Valvetronic trio of death issues because the system simply isn't there. It only features 2 Vanos sprockets and has no active Valvetronic actuator motor. When servicing an N54 engine, we must be very careful with these integrated camshaft bearing ledges. Once we pull them off, we have to check every single journal surface for scoring or scuffing. The N54 engine is notoriously prone to scoring its camshaft ledges. Let's take a close look. This kind of condition is absolutely pristine. If an N54 hasn't been well maintained, it scores very easily. This car has zero issues. It's excellent. Over time, a tiny bit of normal wear is to be expected, and every car will show some signs of it. What you see on screen right now is well within the acceptable tolerance range. Next up, we are going to start replacing the valve stem seals. When a BMW burns oil, you don't actually need to tear down the entire engine. Simply replacing the valve stem seals will solve the problem. Some fans often ask me whether they should still buy a car if the engine has been worked on. In my opinion, under normal circumstances, BMW engines rarely need a major rebuild. We see plenty of Audis and Mercedes on the market getting their engines rebuilt, but it's very rare for a BMW. Once a BMW gets to the point of a full engine rebuild, tearing it down to the pistons and piston rings, I honestly feel the car is barely worth repairing anymore. This is because as long as you maintain it well, you only ever need to open up the top end to replace the valve stem seals. You can see the difference between the old and new seals is massive. The top ones are for the exhaust valves and the bottom ones are for the intake valves. The old openings have completely stretched out and enlarged. Even though the mileage on this car is relatively low, rubber naturally degrades over time. After all, it's a rubber component, and any rubber part has a finite lifespan. Replacing them with the revised version means it will never burn oil again, though using the word forever feels a bit heavy and long-term. While genuine OEM parts might not necessarily be the absolute best, they are always the most suitable choice. Getting another 5 to 6 or even 7 to 8 years out of them as a baseline is definitely not going to be an issue. Here are the 6 brand new, genuine fuel injectors, and there are actually no aftermarket options available for these. Let's look at the details. First of all, their part numbers all end in index -12. A lot of fans say the manufacturing looks so rough. Are these really genuine? But there are no aftermarket versions of this. Third-party brands simply can't pull it off. I noticed that some of these threaded sections come with a layer of protective grease on them. These were still being manufactured back in 2025. You can see it, right? It's the smell of money. The new injectors come with a protective sleeve over the tip, and we need to slide that sleeve off first, just like this. We only grip it a tiny bit. You can't clamp down too deep because if you deform the tip, the entire injector is ruined. We will also need to code the injectors later. These piezo injectors have certain manufacturing tolerances straight from the factory, so they require proper coding to perform exactly as intended. That's just how high the precision is. This is exactly how the engine operates inside, pushing down on the valves and then closing them. Before putting the valve cover back on, we hand crank the engine to rotate it manually. We must inspect everything thoroughly before sealing it up because there is absolutely no room for error inside here. These are the car's 6 spark plugs. It looks like the oil burning was pretty severe before. You can see the tips are completely covered in carbon buildup. The valve stem seals had enlarged so much that they couldn't hold the oil back anymore, allowing it to leak down into the cylinders and burn off. Our genuine OEM spark plugs for the N54 engine feature a 3-prong design. The original ones simply have 3 ground electrodes. Now, our new spark plugs, new fuel injectors, and the new valve cover have all been installed, and we've already fired up the engine. Right now, what you are hearing is the sound of the valve lifters ticking. Nice. Careful with the plug. Now let's install our upgraded aftermarket intercooler. Doesn't it feel like there's a huge difference between the new one and the old one? This oversized one is big enough to replace 2 of the original ones. Once this is installed, it'll be impossible for the turbos to overheat. It'll give the turbos a cold. Because it's an upgraded, larger intercooler, its volume is quite big, so we need to modify the front radiator core support a bit. We need to cut off the lower section of the radiator core support. Doing it this way seems a bit rough, but that's just how modifying cars goes. You just have to force it. But we're already being quite meticulous here, trying not to cut what doesn't need to be cut to keep it looking as neat as possible. This is what it looks like after installation. We cut away the entire lower section of the radiator core support, and it looks pretty clean and straight. The oil cooler is on top, the intercooler is at the bottom, and the radiator is behind them. They won't interfere with each other. This right here is the charge pipe before the throttle body, and we're going to upgrade this whole assembly too. This pipe is a known weak point. Both N54 and N55 engines are prone to blowing them up. Let's take a look at the valve carbon buildup on this N54 engine. Wow, this is way too dirty. The carbon buildup on these valves is the worst I've ever seen on an N54. We're using walnut blasting to clean the intake valves, but the effect is minimal because the carbon buildup is just too stubborn. We have no choice but to scrape it out bit by bit. While repairing this car, we discovered a whole new world. WD-40 can actually soften carbon buildup. Previously, we used carburetor cleaner to soften the carbon and found it didn't help at all. But if you soak it with WD-40 for about 5 minutes, it becomes very easy to clean off. WD-40 is truly amazing. We stumbled upon another new use for it. American product, good stuff. You guys can try using it to assist with walnut blasting. It's super effective, way better than carburetor cleaner. Let's look at the results after cleaning. If it weren't for the WD-40, we'd probably have to blast it for at least another 2 hours. We've blasted it down to the valve's original color. It's a golden legend. After cleaning this, fuel consumption will drop by at least 2 or 3 liters and power will increase significantly. It's just like a person breathing. If something is stuck in your throat, it's hard to breathe when you run and it feels terrible. Now we've cleared it right up. Why do these valves get so dirty in the first place? We'll be installing an oil catch can later. Inside our valve cover, there's a component called the oil gas separator. Its job is to separate the oil from the unburnt oil vapors, routing those vapors back into the engine to be burned off. Over time, this makes the valves dirty. Installing an oil catch can is meant to catch these blow-by gases so they don't get routed back into the engine to burn, keeping the valves clean. As for this car's high-pressure fuel pump, we reckon it's the original one that came with the car. Its current condition seems decent enough, so we chose not to replace it for now. A high-pressure fuel pump costs several thousand RMB anyway, so let's keep it for now and swap it out later when it actually fails, since it's quite expensive. Now we're cleaning the mating surfaces and getting ready to install the intake manifold. Before assembly, you must wipe the surfaces completely clean, otherwise it won't seal properly, which can cause the engine to misfire or idle roughly. We also cleaned the throttle body. Over time, N54 engines need their throttle bodies cleaned because this car's valve mechanism is different from regular engines. While everything is open, let's replace the power steering pump. Replacing it now is much easier since the top end is completely disassembled. This power steering pump is actually still okay, just seeping oil slightly, but the owner has high standards, so we replaced it. As you can see, we bought a brand new power steering pump, a genuine brand new OEM one. Let's look at where this power steering pump leaks from. First is the oil seal. Second is the mating seam at the back. Some people say power steering pumps can be rebuilt, but in our experience, rebuilt ones eventually start seeping again or develop issues that cause abnormal noises. Directly replacing it with a brand new assembly or a good used OEM unit is the safest bet. To play it even safer, we chose to replace the gaskets on the intake manifold as well, using genuine OEM ones. Because the N54 engine has a lot of wiring harnesses, we must be very careful during assembly not to pinch any wires. A sound like this means no wires are being pinched. This is the car's complete belt tensioner and drive belt kit. For the N54 engine, we highly recommend going with the genuine OEM tensioner, belt, and idler pulleys. The N54 engine has two idler pulleys that are different sizes. Don't install them backwards or they will make noise. Using aftermarket ones can also cause abnormal noises. Now it's running and sounding very stable. This pipe, BMW's electric water pump, has always been an issue. Our newer B-Series engines have all switched to a purely mechanical design. We are replacing it with a VDO water pump. Although it being electric has the downside of being prone to failure, it does have one advantage. You can bleed the cooling system without even starting the engine, because the engine doesn't need to run since the water pump is electric. It can spin on its own. This right here is the oil catch can. It routes to the valve cover, separating the blow-by gases before they go on to be burned inside the engine, keeping everything from getting dirty. Models with active steering must use the correctly rated power steering fluid, specifically CHF11S. You absolutely must use this specific type of fluid. If any sharp-eyed fans noticed, our power steering fluid reservoir is also brand new, because the owner did some research and found out that this reservoir has a built-in filter that is sold together with the reservoir itself, so we replaced the reservoir too, using a genuine OEM one as well. These are the car's control arms. For our two straight arms and two curved arms, we're using Lemfurter. The original ones on the car actually look fine, but the owner just wanted to do an upgrade and replace them anyway. We'll keep these old ones we took off if the owner finds the ride uncomfortable after driving it. We can always swap them back since the car only has a bit over 60,000 kilometers. These chassis parts still look quite decent, and the curved arm bushings look perfectly fine too. The shock absorbers are already worn out. You see, shocks shouldn't just be left sitting on a shelf. If they sit in storage for too long, they can easily go bad too. The complete shock absorber setup, including the dust boots, dampers, springs, lower spring pads, and top mounts, are all genuine OEM parts, as there are absolutely no aftermarket options available to buy for these. This is the left shock. The left one is a bit better than the right one, but it's blown too. Before installing our new shocks, we must compress them all the way down and let them rebound back and forth a few times to bleed all the air out before putting them on. Otherwise, if the air isn't completely bled out, it won't be any different from a broken shock absorber. This right here is the car's top mount, dust boot, and bump stop. This top mount has already completely fallen apart. Now we're going to change the brake fluid. The brake fluid in this car probably hasn't been changed for a very long time. As you can see, this brake fluid has already turned a greenish color. Under normal circumstances, the color of brake fluid isn't much different from engine oil, so this is just a sign that it has degraded over time. Sometimes, if you feel like the car lacks stopping power or the brake pedal feels quite stiff, it actually has a lot to do with the brake fluid. Now we are getting the car onto the drive-on lift to perform a bushing reset. The control arm bushings we replaced cannot be torqued down right away. They need to be tightened at normal ride height. If you tighten them directly while the vehicle is hanging in the air, lowering the car will create twisting stress on the rubber, and these bushings won't last long at all. Therefore, we must lock down the bushing bolts only when the suspension is loaded at normal ride height. This is absolutely mandatory. If you skip this step, although it might drive fine in the short term, it will eventually cause squeaks and abnormal noises. Furthermore, how soft or stiff the suspension feels and the overall ride quality of the chassis have a lot to do with clocking the bushings correctly. As you can see, this radiator is still pretty dirty. Let's go ahead and spray it down with water. Since the front bumper is already off anyway, we might as well give the radiator a good wash too. Once it's cleaned, its cooling efficiency will be much better. Next, we'll replace the upper radiator hose and the coolant return line on top, and that will wrap up the cooling system maintenance for this car. Our coolant return line actually comes with a securing clip on it. As you can see, we need to clip it onto the return line like this so it won't rub against the wiring harness. It's a really well thought out design. Nice! When replacing with genuine OEM coolant, we choose to mix it with Overhaul purified water, which was a specific request from the owner. Even though it has a relatively high failure rate, the electric water pump is very convenient because we can completely bleed the air out without even starting the engine. This right here is the CDV, clutch delay valve, on the transmission. This valve is designed for beginners. When novices who don't know how to drive a manual drop the clutch too quickly, it prevents the car from stalling easily. If this valve is installed, it's harder to stall. However, if you are a seasoned driver and want to shift rapidly, this valve becomes a total hindrance. We need to remove it so that clutch engagement is entirely up to you. How you want to shift and when you want to shift is completely under your control. There is a faint gugga rubbing noise when turning the steering wheel slightly. This is likely an issue with the steering column rubber boot down here. Hear that? It's coming right through from underneath here. This car probably wasn't driven very often before, so the engine oil has completely degraded. Now that we've warmed the car up by running it, we are going to change the engine oil, transmission fluid, and rear differential fluid. It definitely doesn't look like it was recently changed.
This car has never been abused before. The transmission fluid is extremely clean. Honestly, looking like this, it didn't even really need to be changed. At that moment, I was thinking if I could find something to catch and save it, but I realized it was already too late. The new fluid we're putting back in is also genuine OEM transmission fluid. Once this is changed, this car is pretty much good for a lifetime fluid interval. With it being this clean, there's really no need to ever change it again down the road. Okay, that's enough now. It's naturally overflowing from the fill hole. Just wait until it slows down to a thin trickle, and then we can button up the plug. This car features a limited slip differential, so it requires 1.5 liters of differential fluid. A standard 1-liter bottle isn't going to cut it. Most normal rear differentials only take a single liter, but the E92 M3 also requires 1.5 liters of differential gear oil to complete a fluid change. Our genuine OEM differential fluid comes in 0.5-liter bottles, so we're going to need 3 of them.
The cause of the strange noise when turning the steering wheel is exactly this steering column dust boot. This is a common issue that occurs on our 1 Series, 3 Series, and X1 models. Under normal circumstances, we can choose to spray some lubricant onto this boot, and it will be fine for a while. But if you want to completely resolve this issue, it still needs to be replaced. You can see there are 2 sealing rings inside, a large one and a small one. It's because these 2 rings have aged and hardened over time, which leads to the abnormal noise. Replacing this thing is actually quite a hassle. We need to remove the steering column and then extract it from the inside. We absolutely must seat and seal it tightly, otherwise hot air from the engine bay will leak into the cabin. On many cars where this part isn't installed tightly, you'll feel hot air blowing around your feet when driving at high speeds, and that's exactly because of this issue. The center armrest console on this manual BMW 1M is quite large, which can get in your way and interfere with your shifting when you're driving aggressively. We chose to delete it entirely, making it a truly pure driving machine. Now, the work on the entire car is completely finished. We actually delivered this car before the May Day holiday. The owner was in quite a hurry. After finishing the repairs and performing a problem-free test drive, we handed the car over to him that very night. Since all you handsome viewers have watched all the way to the end, how about leaving a triple combo support with a like, comment, and subscribe before you go?